I will not be able to forgive you until I can fully understand why you made the decision to do what you did.
One was murdered in a popular Charlotte neighborhood. Charlotte-Mecklenburg police say 38-year-old Taylor Silver was shot last Thursday morning along North Davidson Street in Charlotte's NoDa community. Her family now trying to make sense of the violence.
She was already walking to her car. The night was over. Whatever went down inside that bar, she was done with it. She was heading home, and somebody made the decision to follow her anyway. Let me tell you something. That one decision, that one choice to get back in a car and pull up alongside a woman who was already leaving, that is what this whole story comes down to. And before we go any further, we need to get one thing straight. The internet had a whole lot to say about how Taylor Silver died. A whole lot. And most of it was wrong. Her family was still in shock, still trying to process that she was actually gone, and people online were already running with versions of this story that had no business being told. So, we are not doing that here. We are telling the truth, the real story, because Taylor Silver deserves at least that much. Anyways, let's get into it. Taylor Elida Silver was 38 years old, and if you had met her, like actually been in the same room as her, you would have felt it immediately. That energy, that pull, the kind of person who walks in and the whole atmosphere just shifts and you cannot even explain why. You just feel it. Renee Phillips, her cousin, described it like this, and these are her exact words. She had the type of personality where her energy would just light up a room. And that wasn't just a family member being kind at a hard time. That was the consistent thing everybody who knew Taylor said. Happy, beautiful, goofy, kind. Every single time. Not one or two of those words. All of them. Together. Every time someone described her. She had 4 brothers and 3 sisters. She was an auntie to 18 nieces and nephews. 18. And you already know what kind of auntie Taylor was. She was the favorite, the one who showed up for every birthday without being asked. The one who made every kid in that family feel like the most important person in the world just by being present. That is a specific kind of love. And those 18 kids lost it overnight. Beyond her blood family, Taylor had a whole circle of people she had collected through life. Friends who had become her people, chosen family, the kind of connections that happen when somebody genuinely sees you and you genuinely see them back. She had that in abundance. She was from the Carolinas. Charlotte was her city. She knew it. She worked at American Airlines. A woman with a career, a community, a life that was fully in motion. She was not just getting by. She was living, moving, building something, moving on, because you need to understand where this happened and why that matters. NoDa. If you have never been to Charlotte, North Carolina, let me paint you a picture. NoDa is short for North Davidson, and it is Charlotte's arts and entertainment district. Think murals on every corner, live music coming out of every open door, craft spots, local restaurants, boutiques, and a whole community of people who chose this neighborhood specifically because of the energy it carries. It is the kind of place where the city feels alive around you. On a warm night, that whole strip is moving. Bars full, music going, people spilling out onto sidewalks between spots. The 3,200 block of North Davidson Street, right near East 35th. That is the heart of all of it. Restaurants, bars, apartments stacked on top of each other. A neighborhood where living and nightlife happens side by side all night long. Now, Charlotte is a big city, a growing one. The metro population has been pushing well past 1 million people, and like every major American city, it carries the kind of crime statistics that tell a complicated story. But to the city's credit, real progress was being made. Violent crime had dropped significantly going into 2026. The numbers showed real effort, real investment. But progress and safety are not the same thing. Numbers going down does not mean the violence stopped for the specific person on the specific night when it finds them. And NoDa itself had already had a painful year. A double homicide at a nearby nightclub had shaken the community months before Taylor's death. Residents had already started showing up to city safety meetings, asking hard questions about what was being done to protect people in entertainment districts when the night goes long. The conversations were happening. The concerns were on the table. They just had not turned into answers fast enough. So when Taylor went out on the night of May 20th, she was going out in a city that was actively wrestling with exactly this kind of question. She just had no way of knowing she was about to become the reason the conversation had to start all over again. The night started the way it was supposed to. Taylor linked up with a trusted family friend, and they headed into NoDa. Right into the heart of it, the 3,200 block of North Davidson Street, surrounded by the kind of late-night energy that makes a city feel real. Music, people, that easy looseness that settles in when everybody around you is just out trying to enjoy themselves. There was nothing about that night that looked any different from any other Thursday. At some point during the night, Taylor and a woman named Aja Yahel Coles ended up in the same space. Now, and this is where the truth matters more than anything else, a search warrant affidavit would later confirm that a physical fight broke out between the two women at some point that night. A confrontation that happened before anything became permanent. A friend of Taylor's told local media that it started over a man, that both women had feelings for the same person, and things escalated from there. But Taylor's family came out and pushed back on that version. Hard. Because to them, and this matters, that framing made it sound like Taylor was equally responsible for what came next. Like she had done something that somehow explained what happened to her. And they were not going to let that be the story. Make it make sense, because here is what the search warrant actually confirmed happened next. After the physical confrontation, Aja Coles got into a car. She did not walk away. She did not go home. She did not let the night end. She got in a car, and she came back. Witnesses on that street told police exactly what they saw. Coles pulled the car alongside Taylor Silver as Taylor was walking to her own car. The night was over for Taylor. She was going home, and that is the moment Coles shot her. Twice, in the chest. She was already leaving. Let that sit for a second. Whatever happened inside that bar, whatever words were exchanged, whatever the argument was about, Taylor Silver was done with it. She had turned her back on it and was heading to her car. And somebody actively chose, to get back in a vehicle, drive back to where Taylor was, and pull up next to her. That was not a reaction. That was a decision. After 2 a.m. on North Davidson Street, in the middle of one of Charlotte's most alive neighborhoods, witnesses watched Taylor Silver go down, 2 gunshots to the chest, from a car that pulled right up next to her on the street. Point blank. No warning. No hesitation. The sidewalk that had been full of people enjoying a Thursday night turned into chaos in seconds. People scattered. People screamed. Someone called 911. And somewhere, in all of that noise and confusion, Aja Coles drove away. Just drove away. Emergency responders reached Taylor on that block, surrounded by the same bars and restaurants she had spent her night around. They worked on her right there on the street. They stabilized what they could and rushed her to Atrium Health Carolina's medical center. She was alive when they got there. She was fighting. And I need you to understand that. Because this detail got twisted online too, and her family was clear about it. Taylor did not die on that street. She held on. The medical team received her, and they fought right alongside her. Everything medicine had to offer for a woman who had taken 2 bullets to the chest. But the injuries were too much. Taylor Elida Silver was pronounced dead at the hospital. She fought. She did not go easily, but in the end, she was gone. Back on North Davidson Street, the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department had the block locked down. Crime scene tape stretched across one of NoDa's busiest stretches. Officers from multiple units flooded the area. The same sidewalk where people were laughing and moving just an hour before was now a homicide scene. And buried in the details that would come out later, Coles had told a witness where she put the gun. She left the firearm at an apartment on Dahlia Drive in East Charlotte. She told someone where it was. Oh, so now she had a plan. This was not a woman who panicked and ran without thinking. She moved with intention. She placed the weapon. And then she left the state. The Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department's Violent Criminal Apprehension Team was activated immediately. And these are not regular patrol officers. These are the people you call when someone needs to be found, and they need to be found now. The FBI Safe Streets Task Force came in alongside them. Crime scene search units worked the block, pulling shell casings, locking down every frame of surveillance footage from every business on that strip, collecting witness statements before memories faded and people drifted back into the city. NoDa is a nightlife district. That means cameras everywhere. Every bar, every restaurant, every ATM, every corner. Whoever did this did it on a public street in a neighborhood full of people still out for the night, surrounded by surveillance on all sides. That was a mistake. Investigators worked through what remained of that night and straight into the next morning, building a full timeline. What happened inside that bar, what happened on the street, and what happened after that car pulled away. Every witness account mattered. Every second of footage mattered. The gun was already located. Coles had told someone where she left it, and that information made its way to detectives. One thread pulled, and then the threads started connecting fast, like less than 24 hours after Taylor was shot, less than a full day. Investigators had a name and a face. Aja Yahel Coles, 26 years old, from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and she was already gone, already out of Charlotte, already across state lines, moving deep into Alabama. But gone is not the same as disappeared. Using cross-state coordination between CMPD detectives and the FBI, investigators tracked Coles to the Birmingham, Alabama area, specifically to Bessemer, Alabama, just outside the city. Think about the distance she covered in less than a day. She crossed a state line and kept moving. And the task force did not slow down. They did not wait for paperwork to catch up with urgency. On May 22nd, the very next day after the shooting, Aja Yahel Coles was taken into custody. No standoff, no chase, no dramatic ending. She was arrested without incident and extradited back to North Carolina, back to Charlotte, back to the jurisdiction where Taylor Silver was killed, to face what she had done. She was transferred to the Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office and formally charged with murder. Now, people want to know who Aja Coles was before that night. She was 26, from Winston-Salem, about an hour and a half west of Charlotte. She had a record, but not the kind that would have flagged her as a violent threat. Earlier that same year, she had pleaded guilty to reckless driving to endanger, out of Cabarrus County. She paid what the court required and moved on. No violent criminal history. Not one prior conviction involving a weapon or another person's safety, which makes the question of what happened inside that bar even harder to answer. Because violence does not always come from people with long, violent histories. Sometimes it comes from a moment, a decision made in seconds with consequences that stretch across a lifetime, and end one. Period. The case now sits with the Mecklenburg County Courts. Prosecutors building their case, defense preparing their response. The motive is officially still under investigation. What the prosecution will have to establish is the full picture of intent. What the defense will argue is still unknown. The case has not gone to trial yet. For Taylor's family, no verdict changes what happened on May 21st. No conviction walks her back through any door. Justice in a courtroom is the closest available thing, and they are waiting for it. Now, while investigators were doing their work, something else was happening in parallel. And it was doing its own kind of damage. Social media did what social media does. Within hours of the news breaking that a woman had been shot and killed in NoDa, the stories were already flying. Posts spreading fast, versions of events that nobody had verified. And the version that traveled the furthest, the one that got shared thousands of times, was the one that said, Taylor Silver died in a fight over a man. Make it make sense. A friend, not a family member, a friend, had told local media that the conflict started because both women liked the same person. That one detail got picked up, and it ran far. And Taylor's family was not going to sit down for that. They came out publicly, raw in their grief, and said stop. Stop spreading lies about their person. Stop reducing her life and her death to a story that makes it sound like she did something to bring this on herself. Her brother, Silver Morris, addressed it directly. The family's message was clear. Taylor was not arguing over any man. A woman got in a car and came back and shot her. That is what the evidence shows. That is what the search warrant confirms. And the reason the misinformation matters, beyond just the pain it caused that family, is because of what a false narrative does to a victim's legacy. When it spreads fast enough, it sticks. It follows a name forever. It shapes how strangers talk about somebody in comment sections, in dinner conversations, in the next video that covers the case. It strips the victim of their full humanity and replaces them with a headline that serves a story instead of the truth. I said what I said. Taylor Silver deserved better than that. She still does. In the days after Taylor died, her family did something that took real strength. They showed up publicly, loudly, not to perform grief, but to protect her name. To make sure the woman the world heard about was the real Taylor Silver, not the version that the rumor mill manufactured overnight. Her cousin Renee Phillips spoke on camera and said something that cuts right through everything. She's absolutely more than a headline. She talked about 18 nieces and nephews who lost their auntie, 4 brothers and 3 sisters who lost their person, a whole community of chosen family who lost someone they thought they would always have. And then Phillips said 3 words that nobody has been able to answer. When does it stop? 3 words. And honestly, there is no good answer. Because this keeps happening. Lives full of love and laughter. Lives in motion. Lives with people waiting at home. Cut short by somebody else's decision in a moment that can never be taken back. And the people left behind are the ones who spend the rest of their lives figuring out how to carry what was left. Phillips also said something about guns specifically, and these are her exact words. The guns have really infiltrated our community, and it has touched our homes now, our family, and we are at a devastating loss. The community is at a loss. She was grateful that law enforcement moved quickly. She said that clearly. But she also said quickly does not mean healed. Quickly does not mean closure. Quickly just means the person responsible is off the street. The grief is still there, full weight, every single morning. The family also had to deal with something that does not get talked about enough: the cost of burying someone. Grief is expensive. While they were still in shock, still trying to process that Taylor was actually gone, they were also facing the real and immediate financial weight of laying her to rest with the dignity she deserved. They reached out publicly, and the community responded. Strangers who had never met Taylor sent what they could because her story got into people's chests and stayed there. No donation brings her back, but it showed that even from a distance, the people Taylor's story touched, they showed up for her family when it mattered. Anyways, here is what we know for certain. Taylor Elida Silver was 38 years old. She was not somewhere she had no business being. She was not doing anything that millions of people do not do every single weekend in every single city in America. She was in a neighborhood she knew, in her city, with someone she trusted, on a regular night out. She was walking to her car, and she still did not make it home. That is the part that has to sit with us. Not just as a detail of this case, but as a truth about what gun violence actually is and what it actually does. It does not announce itself. It does not warn the people in its path. It does not check whether you have 18 kids calling you their favorite auntie, whether your energy lights up every room you walk into, whether somebody is at home waiting for you. It does not care. Taylor's family hopes her death means something beyond the grief. They hope people see what happens when a moment of conflict gets met with a weapon. They hope the conversation about guns, in the specific, close, personal way that Renee Phillips described it, keeps going long after the cameras turn off and the news cycle moves on. But, hey, they do not want her remembered as a headline. They do not want her remembered as a cautionary tale or as a name attached to a rumor that was never even true. They want her remembered as Taylor. Happy, beautiful, goofy, kind. The woman whose energy lit up every room she walked into. The auntie to 18, the sister to 7. The friend who became family to more people than could ever be counted. The woman who went out for drinks with someone she trusted and deserved, in every possible sense of that word, to come home. A family member said it, and it stays with you. I will not be able to forgive you until I could fully understand why you made the decision to do what you did. And maybe that answer never comes. Maybe that understanding never arrives. But Taylor Silver's name, the real Taylor, not the one the internet invented, that name